It seems like it doesn't take too long before profit-taking gets hold of the market. What's your view on the markets at the moment and projected levels? Because we've seen, the return of interest in the market, but it still lacks, it seems, significant enough confidence where profit-taking emerges just as fast.
Yeah, you're right. We're seeing some profit-taking, especially in the banking sector. But in the NSE ASI index as a whole, we've seen continued bullish sentiment prevail. The market appreciated yesterday. However, what we noticed was the market touched 26,146 points. However, retraced to about 25,700 level. Obviously, that indicates that we're seeing some profit taking already, as you mentioned, particularly in the banking sector. In our view, we think there should be a support level round about the 25,200 level, but we must always remember there are different investors in the market with different objectives. You've got speculators and long-term investors as well. What you typically will find is that local investors, particularly the brokers, are short-term in nature. However, long-term investors, being fund managers, the foreign portfolio managers, are also coming back into this market. And we believe that these long-term investors will be greater, their impact will be greater than short-term investors. For that reason, we believe that the 26,700 resistance level is attainable in the near future, driven obviously by fundamentals, strong earnings as we've seen in Q1 to 2011, and we think in the next month or two we should be at that level.
Of course, all of these investors looking at the macroeconomic scenario with a pretty intense scrutiny, and with that we've got the inflation scenario standing front and center as a concern. We've got those inflation figures for April being released on Monday. What are your expectations on that front?
We expect inflation to be slightly higher than where we were. Obviously, we've seen inflation rise from 11.8 to 12.8, and now we think it should be above 12.8, somewhere around 13%. Obviously, the key driver here is the election that's just taken place. A lot of spending went into it. A lot of electioneering went into it. So we expect that the spending from the election should drive local demand and consumption, hence higher prices. However, it's worth noting that the UN FAO body did say that food prices globally is actually stabilizing after 8 consecutive rises, about 35% rise in total from August 2010. So the next inflation figures coming out on Monday, we do expect the figures to be slightly higher. However, going forward into Q3 and Q4, we expect inflation figures will stabilize.
We had the CBN governor saying this week that fighting inflation is likely to be a challenge for Nigeria for the rest of this year, especially in a scenario where subsidies for petroleum products, for example, are not sustainable. How do you see the CBN needing to react to manage this inflation scenario moving forward?
I believe that the CBN governor is absolutely right. He has 2 objectives, either to reflate the economy or get the economy back on a sustainable path. Indeed, yes, Nigeria has grown or is estimated to grow at over 8%. However, the local spending power is still very weak. Money supply is weak. The loan growth is actually weak as well. So between getting the economy back on a firm footing and fighting inflation, I believe that the primary objective has to be to get the economy back on a firm footing. For that reason, increasing the MPR or increasing the corridors much higher than where we are now, just for the purpose of fighting inflation, will be detrimental for the long-term growth of the country as a whole. For that reason, I do believe that the CBN governor's position is actually the correct one.
Yeah. In the meantime, on the currency front, we see the Naira under continued pressure, and this week Sanusi saying as well that he would rather use the country's foreign reserves to support the Naira than build up reserves at the risk of inflation. What did you make of that commentary?
I do think that we may not see direct intervention by the CBN in the secondary market, that's the interbank market for FX. What we do see is the CBN increasing its supply in the primary market. What we've seen is that demand in the primary market has actually stabilized. However, the normal supply lines where we see supply coming to the secondary market have actually been weak in recent times. For example, the oil flows from oil multinationals, NNPC, Chevron, Total and the likes, have not come in for some of these organizations. So for that reason, you've seen some flow issues in the secondary market. However, we think that in the long run, the Naira should appreciate, and obviously that is driven by fundamentals, macro fundamentals. The election is held, foreign direct investment, foreign portfolio managers coming into the economy. We believe that all that you attribute and cause the Naira to appreciate.